Hello, this is Chris with toolrank.com, and today I have for review the Bosch GCM12SD gliding miter saw. This is a saw that does away with your standard rails and uses an articulating arm mechanism. It's basically two hinges, one on the horizontal and one on the vertical, and allows the saw to move very smoothly forward and backwards. So let's take a look at that. Now, as you just saw, the gliding mechanism is really smooth, so much so that Bosch added a resistance adjustment right here on the top for people that don't like the action to be so easy. They like a little bit of resistance. So it can be adjusted using the tool that is stored on board. Here at the back of the tool, you can see where that onboard tool storage is. It just slides right into a little hole here and clips on with a nice clip, so you don't lose that. You have this adjust the glide tension resistance, and this is also used for changing the saw blade. Now obviously the gliding mechanism is the new feature of the saw, but Bosch also included some of the features that we've grown to like over the years. Obviously the front control for bevel. Release this lever and the saw can tilt to the left. By turning this knob here this way, you can release it to bevel to the right, and if you turn it all the way counterclockwise, you can go past 45 in either direction. Also up front obviously is the controls for setting the miter, and you have the detent lever right here, and when you slide this off, fits in any detent and locks into place. One nice thing they did, the older saws had an awkward setup to hold this up to allow for detent override, but the new mechanism is much simpler. You just hold this up, push this switch forward, and you have detent override, and you can slide it to any of the half degrees or whatever, and then you lock it into place by spinning this. And then to release it, you just pull up on the bottom lever, and this springs back. What I really like about the saw is that Bosch really thought things out when they designed it. They made everything really easy to use. You have the table extension. Just flip this out and it slides out really easy. You can lock it in place. Really simple to use. Also on the back of the saw is the adjustment for the back fence with another red lever. Slides out easy and it stops so it doesn't pull all the way out, which is handy. You can just do it really quick, lock it in place by pushing that back. If you do need to remove this back fence for whatever reason, you look at the back of the saw. There's a stop right here. Take this and spin it. It locks into place. You gotta lift it up and spin it. Pull this all the way out. and this simply lifts out. So it's really a nice idea, a nice way to do it. So when you do need to remove it, it's simple. When you don't need it, you can just slide it in and out really easily. Moving to the top of the saw, you have your release for obviously the plunge mechanism. Again with the red indicator. Push that in, locks into place, pull it out. And next to that is a depth adjustment for doing dados or whatever. I really don't use this feature that much, but it's here and it's solid. You have the adjustment screw up here to adjust the depth. Turn this, a couple turns, plunge, hits that and you can stop. When you're using this feature, you might want to have it locked into chop mode. Let me take this off so you can see. But there's a little latch right here to lock the saw from moving forward. So basically you just have a chop saw with no slide. Unlocking it, you can slide it forward. Easy enough. And if for whatever reason, maybe for transport, you can lock it in the forward position as well. So you can lock it forward, or you can lock it backwards. Bosch added adjustments for everything, which is nice. If the saw gets out of alignment for whatever reason, you can realign it. The detents can be adjusted. There's little Allen holes right here, and then adjust the detents on the bottom. You can slide those over. The saw came calibrated perfect, and I'll go over more of that later. But just to show you the adjustments for the detents, they have, I don't know if you could see this, there's little Allen screws. There's one right here, and then there's one on the bottom, and that adjusts how much the saw, the stops for the up stop and also the down stop. In the back behind here there's adjustments for the bevel 45 and 0 to adjust those on both sides. Bosch has a really nice fence. You know, I talked about how smooth it is, but there's holes on the bottom for mounting an auxiliary fence, and there's also holes on the top. So if you need to, you know, make a fence for doing crown, or a zero clearance fence for, you know, cutting smaller pieces, there's that. So let's look at the accuracy of the saw. I have one of these digital gauges. Turn it on. It's at 0, and if we put it up here, you can see again we're at 0. The saw out of the box came perfectly aligned. Everything was at 0. Another great feature that most manufacturers seem to, you know, skimp out on is the clamp mechanism. I don't use this a whole lot, but when I am using it, I mean you want it to be fast, and the easier it is to use, the more you're going to use it. So this one, you can see it has all these little teeth, and then the hole. The teeth slide into the hole, so it's really easy to adjust it. You just drop it in and spin it. Alright, I'm going to show you how easy it is. This is a 2x4 on the side. There it is, clamped down. Unscrew it, a couple turns, pull that off, turn it upright, make sure it's in the hole, and again, a couple turns, and it's down. Because of the teeth on this, you can set the height really easily without having to spend a lot of time adjusting this. This is a little different than their older saws. Their older saws had the same teeth in the back, but there was a quick action lever. So this is probably a little cheaper to manufacture, but you know, it only maybe takes a couple seconds longer. And this method kind of gives you, I mean, you can dial in how much pressure you want really simply. And of course you can turn to this side and use it here as well. One thing I noticed up here on the top, this plastic deal, it doesn't do anything. It's got 4 screws. It's got 4 screws, 2 on each side. This may be a possible place for Bosch to add on a laser accessory down the road, but right now they don't have a laser accessory other than something you mount on the blade itself. But maybe they're just thinking ahead in case there is something. But there's this piece. It doesn't do anything, but maybe a laser in the future. Now to some of the issues with the saw. You'll notice right here there's a pretty big space for cutting, you know, large material when you're at 90 degrees. However, if you come on this side, you can see that where the motor connects to the blade, there's a belt here. This is kind of large and can get in the way. This is noticeable when you come to do 45. Say you're doing baseboard standing up. This piece is 3.5 inches. Okay, and if you look, you bring the saw down, there's barely enough clearance. Okay, so if, say this was like a 4-inch piece, I don't think you can get much more than 4 inches if you do base standing up. Another negative of the saw is the height. You can see the motor's mounted on top. Bosch really didn't have anywhere else to put it. I mean, when the saw's in the up position, the motor, you know, it can't fit in here. So I don't know where else they could put it. But the saw is tall, which makes it top heavy. So when you're doing bevels, I mean, the saw is heavy. So you might notice that over time. Also, my father and I noticed when we tried to put it in his truck, he has a tonneau cover, one of the flat covers. The saw was too tall to fit in the bed of his truck. Missed it by about 1 inch or so. So we had to transport the saw on 45 degrees, which is not ideal. So that's another thing to consider. If I measured it, it was about 22.5 inches, I believe. And another issue is weight, the weight of the saw. This whole gliding arm mechanism weighs a lot, and therefore the saw weighs a lot. This is, I mean, they wanted to get this right and make it sturdy, and sturdy means heavy, unless they go with, you know, some other high strength material that costs a lot more. So they could either make the saw cost more, or you can go with weight. So there's that as well. Bosch has done a few demos. I don't know if you've seen them in the stores or at a trade show or something, but they'll hit this mechanism with a 2x4 to prove how strong it is. So you know it's strong, but it's also heavy. The saw includes a Bosch blade, 12-inch 60 tooth. You know, this is good for, you know, general 2x4s and stuff like that, but for fine finish you probably want to put an 80 tooth or a 100 tooth finishing blade on that. Comes with the dust bag. One thing people like to know is the dust collection. I don't really have a dust collector. I tried it with a shop vac. You know, you get around 75% dust. So with a, and that's just a really, it's not a very good, you know, it doesn't have very good suction power for this kind of testing. So I would guess you'd get probably 80%. I've read online people are saying about 80% for dust collection, and I would think that's about right. So this is a video review of the Bosch GCM12SD gliding compound miter saw.